the Odyssey, I don't know if you knew this, is told from a female perspective.
Boy. Say it's not so.
This you got to see this from Steph, actually, My Nerdy Home, her X account.
Look what you did.
Let's see this. We got it's a short clip, but you're doing research.
Views.
Found it. What?
4 million views?
4 million views.
Wow.
Damn.
Steph.
Here we go. And we just saw the red carpet. The red carpet was fairly subdued. I believe that they were under control. But what's disappointing, the official X account has locked comments. You cannot make comments on X. You can't respond to any X post by the Odyssey. Well, let's see what Lupita Nyong'o, who plays dual roles, what she has to say.
I'd be like, so Homer, how do you feel about the screen time given to these women, considering how little you spend with them? Okay.
And then do you lean forward and look at him like that?
Yes, like, remember us? I'd be like, so Homer.
She's continuing to just paint Homer as a misogynist, and these are easy questions. So I have been doing research on the Odyssey, and I've been watching a whole lot of interviews. And with Lupita, she's not even given leading questions to provoke these types of answers, right? Because she has this one, and then she talks about the female perspective of the Odyssey in another clip, and the questions are fairly subdued, but she's giving these answers on her own. They're not leading questions, like Millie Alcock with how do you think will her character swing both ways or become a gay icon or whatever? She's not given any leading questions. In fact, it's actually been refreshing watching a lot of these interviews with all of the actors regarding the Odyssey, because the press hasn't been asking a lot of the questions that you normally get right now, like, the cast is very representative of our culture today. The cast is very inclusive, blah, blah, blah. They haven't been asking any types of questions like that. So it's been refreshing kind of watching and listening to their answers. It's more like what it used to be, they're asking questions about the IMAX camera, what it's like being a part of the crew, ask questions about Christopher Nolan, questions about their character, and they give all of these really good answers. So it's been nice listening to it. And the only time I found any type of controversy was honestly with Lupita. And I was like, are you kidding? Like, you have the opportunity to kind of talk about your character and everything, and you're choosing this route. Why?
What was the question that she was asked in that?
The question was like, if Christopher Nolan saw the Odyssey, like what is one question that you would want to ask him?
If Homer had seen Christopher
Nolan's Odyssey. What would you want to ask him? And the guy asked the question to like every single actor, and that's the question that she was or that's the question that she wanted. And I was like, really? Like, you have Homer next to you. That's the one question that you would ask him, is to basically start a lecture. Like, hey, how come you didn't talk about the women in the Odyssey? How would you feel? What did you think? Because he wasn't in your, they weren't representative in your work. Huh, Homer? And I was like, really? Like, that's what you would choose. You would choose to lecture Homer on his work as opposed to a different way of conversation.
I think what's weird is she says screen time. It was. Does she know it was a book? Like,
you'd have to explain
according to her, she did
time
read.
to
She
Homer.
read it. Yeah.
Screen time? That doesn't make.
Well, he probably wrote a book and a screenplay.
I mean, I remember. I mean, look, I read the Iliad and the Odyssey when I was in elementary school. I'm sure it was a scholastic version of it.
Yeah.
But it just seems like she doesn't have really an awareness of it. And also, I kind of feel like when these celebrities are being interviewed, and Steph, you see a lot of them, I see a lot of them too. I almost feel like by the identity of the person being asked the question, they're almost required to have a thought about all these things, that you don't have to actually have. You can just say, I've read it, or I haven't read it, but I was, just be honest, but there's almost like she feels obligated to give a provocative answer. Do you feel that sometimes when you watch these?
Sometimes, yeah, but I think that like the questions that they're asking lead to that. In this way, I think that it's almost as if she needs to feel special, and in this way, this is how she feels special.
Yeah.
You know,
Can you
is making it all
share my
about
screen?
her, making it all about the representation, making it all about this instead of, answering the question that was given.
Yeah.
If that's the worst we get from her, then it's really not that bad, though. So it's all right so far.
So she left the Woman King because she so cared about the mythology and the story to be told the right way. She didn't think she was the right character for the role. And she left because she specifically wanted to do it justice. But I felt it wasn't the role for me to play. So when it's mythology she cares about, very self-aware that she probably should or shouldn't be playing a role. But if it's the Odyssey, she has no problem stepping in and then questioning the original author.
Well, Alan and I are seeing the movie a week from today. We will give our out of the theater reaction on Monday and let you know. We'll also have a review that Wednesday, which is when I believe today, in a few hours, the first social reactions from the premiere are going to be allowed to drop. Be prepared for glazing. There will be a lot of glazing.
Oh, absolutely.
It's going to be tonight, folks. So, DA, I'll be watching your late night show.
And I do think her remarks, though, are very telling as to the air or the environment of the production itself, the culture of the production. The fact that she felt so comfortable calling out the author in this very disrespectful way, that's actually the biggest red flag that I've seen so far. And it's just, and people I've seen some reactions that are like, well, who cares because Homer is dead? Well, I think personally, I feel more of a responsibility to share my opinion and to defend ones who aren't alive, to defend their own work and speak for themselves. I've seen this before with Frank Herbert, and there's been, but we've seen this countless times with Tolkien as well. So I think people have more, they feel like they have to speak and say their opinion because, especially for ones who can't speak anymore, the ones that are deceased. And I just feel like it's incredibly disrespectful. And it's not so much what she's saying, but how is she saying it? I think is what's riling people up too. She comes across as very entitled and not in the least bit grateful or, humbled by this experience to be a part of this epic film and being paid very well to do that. And she wouldn't even be here if Homer hadn't written a very famous female character of Helen of Troy. So I think all of this combined. Yeah.
That's the thing that really frustrates me is that you're taking like a classic piece of literature and you're dumping all on the author, like you said, Elaine, who doesn't have the ability to respond to any of this, and you're using it to push your propaganda, you're using it to push, feminist ideology instead of just telling the story that Homer wrote. That's what
he's
really
basing it on Emily Wilson's translation, which is a direct
based
reframing
on the
of it.
It's like, can we just do this is a classic piece of literature that all of us either read or got exposed to at a very young age. And everybody either knows the story or have heard the story. Do it right. All right. If you're going to do the classics, you got to pay some homage to the originals. Listen, this is the problem Hollywood has. Hollywood, they don't want to push their ideology through their own individual or unique creations. They want to take over classic literature, classic franchises, the big dogs, all right, the stuff they know we're going to show up to. They want to take those over, and then they want to use this as a vehicle for propaganda, which is Hollywood in a nutshell, in 2026. And that's what's frustrating about it, because I was looking forward to this. All right, I was really looking forward to this movie, and I'm like, now I'm just watching it for the memes and to do a review for the channel and all that kind of stuff. But I could care less about this movie.
And I think you're right, Elaine. With sorry,
no, I was just gonna. Sorry, go ahead, Steph. I'll have a. Final thought.
I was gonna say, I think you're right, Elaine. What in regards to like how she's speaking speaks to the Odyssey set and everything, and the conversations that had between Nolan and his actors, because she continues to talk about how the Odyssey's been told from like a masculine perspective, and finally we're getting, you know, a female perspective, and it's very enriching. And even on the red carpet, on the premiere carpet, one of the interviewers was talking to Anne Hathaway, and I think also Lupita Nyong'o. I have to go back and watch it, but I think she also asked them about that, about the female perspective. How do they feel about that? And then she also asked Nolan, and you know, Anne Hathaway talked about how Nolan, the way he wrote this, it is from, you know, a female perspective, and he kind of enriched the story with it. He sort of made it even better. And so they made a point to ask Nolan about that, like, what was your decision about that? How come you they praised him about writing from the female perspective and having all of these women, and credited the fact that he has all of these great, powerful women around him, and how they're just very happy to be a part of that. So I'm really interested in seeing this movie, because he is credited to putting a lot of the female perspective on this and adding even more to the female characters, because they feel like all of that was left out of the original work by Homer.
Here's my fear. It may in fact be a phenomenal movie, a very good movie with epic action scenes and intense, thrilling, just high drama, but the race swap will be distracting. It'll be like, it's sort of like why I don't watch Bridgerton. I don't buy it.
Elliot. Yeah.
Well, what's weird is I saw Elliot Page on the red carpet, and I mean, Elliot looks like a young boy, like literally like
Tiny.
someone
That has a wasting disease.
It's like the first time you wear a suit when you're like 13 or 14, you kind of don't know how to wear one. It's ill-fitting, and you're wearing a suit, and Elliot's very tiny. So we'll see if it works. I think the problem is, will the changes be distracting, or will we get sucked in by the spectacle? We'll know next week when we all see it.
Well, Chris, one last thing too. I was talking about this with my girlfriend. You know, it's not just that. It's also, at least it's this way with me, looking at these stars in these roles like Anne Hathaway, you have Lupita Nyong'o, you have Spider-Man, you have Robert Pattinson. I look at them, and I just see the actor. You know what I mean? I look at them and I see Hollywood. You can't get immersed in the story. It's already bad enough you have, you know, a transgender person, and then you have a couple of black people playing white people roles. It's just, there's just nothing about it which sucks you into the setting and the period and what's going on. And then on top of that, you also don't have the score, right? And you don't have the proper music that goes along with it. So I don't see how you possibly get immersed into this.
Yeah, comparing it to the Doom Part 3 trailer, it's night and day for me, because the Doom Part 3 trailer, I mean, we'll see how it fares for an adaptation perspective, but cinematically, that looks amazing. Like how the trailer was cut, but there's just nothing. I don't get that same feeling at all with what I've seen of the footage of the Odyssey, which is very disappointing. It's very gray, it's very bland, and I just don't feel it. I'm not immersed in this fantasy universe from that. And yeah, I agree. I see the stars. I see Anne Hathaway. I see her Botoxed face. I can't get immersed into this other world. And if it was created by this paint by numbers, if it was created by ones like Lupita, her perspective of what art should be, which is just paint by numbers, screen time given to an equal measure to male and female. This is why Supergirl exists. Because that's how they view art. Yep. It's not from true inspiration. It's from a number standpoint and that's what's ruining so many other forms of entertainment too. It's not just movies, and it's video games as well. This was the Disneyfication of other things. They think this is what women want, but it's not women. It's a certain kind of perspective that is, I guess, feminine skewed or whatever. It's just the Karens of the world. I don't know, but it's not what women want. Women like masculine stories. They like men, and they like seeing perspectives from the male perspective. They like seeing that as well. Clearly, We see what women go to as well. We see the numbers. We see what's successful. And we also see what doesn't work. And do we have to see failures time and time again before Hollywood learns this lesson?